Hey, welcome back and thank you for watching. I've got armrests for the Massey. We're going to put these on. These are the Husqvarna armrests. I'll tell you a little bit about them, how much they cost, and then I'll show you what I had to do to get them on. So stick around. First though, let's talk about cost. So I found these on eBay. My all-in cost, and I had like an eBay coupon too, the whole thing was about 44 bucks for both armrests. So add to that the $4 in mounting hardware that I bought because I'm going to use slightly different hardware than what came with them. And, you know, I'm at, 50 bucks. And in comparison, if I were to buy the Massey armrests, they're $91 a piece. So I'm 50 bucks out the door now, or if I would have went the Massey route, 180. So I've saved 130 bucks. Causing myself a little bit of work, but hey, it's a beautiful day out here today. What else am I going to do? It's great being out here. So let me show you the fit on the tractor, and I'll show you the change I had to make to get these things to fit. The first thing that you need to know is that this 1723 seat already has 3 hole markers on the side, and I'm assuming that's for the Massey brand armrest. The other thing it has is the seat material sort of stuck to the plastic frame, except for these 3 areas. And you can see them here. I can get the spludger tool down in there, okay? And then down in this area. Same thing, right? So you kind of have to mount in those areas, or you need to try to separate the seat. And I don't know if I really want to do that. So that kind of leads me to the modification I made. And here it is. So on the right is the stock, and on the left, I've cut it short and drilled a new hole. And the reason I did that is because these things bend in slightly, and I'll try to show you on camera here. You can kind of see how they bend in. So that causes there to be a gap between the armrest and the seat. So by cutting that tip off, it helps you draw it in a little closer. Plus this hole, if you try to reuse that, it's way out of alignment with that existing gap in the seat material. So you really need to bring it in. So basically here, so that's what I did. And I drilled it as small as possible. It really wasn't that big. I'll show you. I'll cut the other one here in a moment. But the first thing we're going to do is mount the first one. Now I've already just sort of touched it up with spray paint. But I think what I'm going to do is probably just put a coat on the whole thing after I get it mounted to include the bolts. Then here's the hardware that came with it. So it's this clip nut that goes down over the plastic, and then this screw goes through that clip nut. So I'm not going to use that hardware, mostly because the way I'm going to have to mount this, the holes are going to be deeper in the plastic than this clip nut would accommodate. And I mean, I guess I could bend it out and still sort of use it. But instead what I did, I got a 1/4 inch bolt. And then I got a 1/4 inch washer for the metal side. And I actually got a 5/16 washer for inside of the plastic, between the plastic and the seat material, just to give it a little more surface area. Then I'll have to wiggle this nut down in there and draw it up, but it should be able to do that. And also I'll put a bill of materials on the screen here of exactly what 1/4 inch, I think it's 3/4 inches long, bolt that I got. So we're going to center on the center hole, which is the existing Massey hole, and then line the other 2 up from that. So I'll show you the install here right now on the right-hand side. And here I am on the right-hand side. So I've got this sort of in place. That's kind of how it's going to go. What I did, I weighed down the seat because I want, the armrest to, not be pitched forward or pitched back. So I sort of weighed down the seat to sort of give me an idea of what level really is. So again, I am going to center on that hole right there and get the bolt in, and then I'll get and drilled out, of course. Then I'll get the other 2 put in a moment. So let's get that one drilled out, and we'll go from there. And I'm going to align on it, but I'm going to be just to the bottom of the existing hole to give me as much room on that plastic as possible. So here we go. And before I get this hardware on, I do realize that I could still use this clip because this one actually is pretty close. The other one might actually be close enough too. But I'm just going to use the same hardware on all 3 holes just to make it consistent. All right, there. So I just slid the washer in. I should have started the recording before, but I didn't. It's a 7/16 bolt. So I think maybe what I'll do is I'll wedge this in the wrench and slide it in there, and that should butt right up on the thing and screw in. There we go. And then tighten it up just a little bit more. Okay, so now it's going to be snug, and right, that'll give me, you know, like some adjustment perspective here. So it's mounted, and you can see I'm pretty deep there, and not so much there, but the arm is pretty much where I want it to be. Let's take a step back and sort of look at it. That's pretty much where I want it to be. So I'm going to try to go as deep as I can here and get another nut in there. I'll be honest, man, that's that's pretty snug. I don't think that's going anywhere. You can see this last one here, I'm not putting the washer on because it would actually stick out over the edge. I say the outside washer I'm not putting on. Okay, so you saw that wrench move, so that's tightened up. So we'll go tight there. I can slide that off. I can use the other end to tighten, let's go ahead and tighten the other 2. All right, so that's final product, at least on this side. You can see there's really no air gap. The fabric, that is pushing in on the fabric some. I guess that's where the screw would have the advantage. It would have just sort of pierced a hole in it. I thought I'd get in behind it, but I didn't. But that's really not that big of a deal. And then I will have to tape it off and spray paint it. But I think that's going to work just good. Yeah, so centering on the center bolt worked, and then for the top hole, I just sort of lined right up with the plastic there. So we're going to rinse and repeat and do the same process over again on the other side. So everyone's going to have a different way of doing this, but I just took, I'm just going to grind it. I took the old piece from the other one and I marked. So I've got the line. I know exactly where I need to cut. So I'm just going to cut. Okay, if you're a keen observer, what you probably see is that this side's a little shorter. That's because I cut it and drilled the hole in the wrong spot. So I had to recut it, but it's still going to work out just fine. We're going to do the same method here. We're going to line it up. I've already drilled the hole in the center. We're going to line it up in the center and get this mounted. Now you've seen it mounted, so I'm not going to show you this again. I'll pick back up once it is installed. And there it is. There we go. That's the final install. I've got one arm up, one arm down. They are tight, situated in there really good. I was hesitant to do this, honestly. It's like, you know, that seat's $700 almost to replace. So I didn't want to mess with it. Of course, if I had to replace it, I'd, you know, would not buy the original Massey. I'd get something, you know, cheaper. But you can see it, you know, it fits down in there pretty well and pretty tight up against the plastic, and that's the case on both sides. It's a pretty tight fit in there. The only tip, of course, these are 7/16 wrenches, I'd say, or actually 2 tips, is make sure orient the wrench this way when you're sliding that nut in. Of course, you know, like I showed earlier, slide the nut in, then put it down in and over. And then to get the washer down in, I just use these tiny pliers to sort of situate it and loop it over the nut on the end, or the bolt on the inside. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this one. If you have any questions, post them in the comments, and I'll reply to as many as I can. And I appreciate you watching.